Can you believe it, folks? Another week's gone by, and so welcome to Dal's Weekly Digest. I hope you and yours are doing very well. Remember this, folks, if nothing else today. Right now, you are as young as you'll ever be. And I'm not getting old. I'm becoming a classic. Kind of like my old pickup. About another 3-4 years, my pickup will be classified as a classic. I marvel at some of the things that are going on. Get this, folks. There's a glove being developed. And this glove, when the person puts it on, when they use sign language, it'll be broadcast in audio so the person can hear it. And the next step, there's going to be glasses. When the person hears the audio, it's going to transmit images in the glasses of sign language. That's a marvel, isn't it, folks? That is a marvel. And they're already at the first stage of when they put these gloves on, it'll come across as audio. I mean, that's, again, a marvel. Here's a marvel. Teachers are going back to summer school. Well, these teachers are going to summer school for different options. We don't know what the options of what education is going to be right now, whether it's going to be totally online or some face-to-face, and what that's going to be. And these teachers are going online to get themselves prepped there. So if you know of a teacher, you're related to a teacher, boy, give them that a boy. They need all the inspiration and help that they can get, folks. They've really got quite a road to hoe there, as they would be saying there. So that was a marvel. I had to marvel this week. I met with 6 agents, face to face. It's kind of nice, and we tried to social distance while we were meeting there, and they all kind of shared the same story a little bit. That was listening. The clients that they did see, they said those clients love to talk, and they said they would talk. You name the subject, whether it be political, educational, whatever, they love to talk. They wanted to talk to their trusted agent. They're riding a wave, and they say they just kind of ride the wave on in, and pretty soon it's going to settle down a little bit where then they could go ahead and talk to them on really what they wanted to talk to them about. But they had to ride the wave, and they said, man, they were really surprised on which normally may say a 15-minute little time period, maybe take an hour, because they wanted to talk. They wanted to talk. And again, their trusted agent there to listen to them. Of that group of 6, one of them had a death claim. It was a male of 47 years old, due to the virus. He was due to the virus. So, that's what we're out there for, is to help our clients with protection there. Well, the word of the day is not going to be marvel. It's going to be change. The word is change. So keep that in mind of the word of the day. But before we get to that, let's go to a little cowboy wisdom, can we? Okay. A word to the wise is not necessary. A word to the wise is not necessary. I might be a Lutheran if every time something changes, the old one was better. Every time, the old one was better. And a little South Dakota trivia. You may know from some past little talks that I love horses. Well, yearly, our family would try to get together when we could and watch the Triple Crown. That of Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont Stakes. Some of it, as I was watching, I would make sure that I made a note of the country that the jockey was from. Last year, when I was able to watch it, the Kentucky Derby, 3 of them were from Panama. And if you recall that particular race I'm thinking of, there was a foul that was later called on the winner of the Kentucky Derby, and then he was disqualified after they looked at the film. Well, that jockey was from Panama, the one that got disqualified. Well, again, I said the topic was South Dakota trivia. A young man from Groton, South Dakota, Earl Sandy, S-A-N-D-E, from Groton, South Dakota. He's won 5 of the Belmont Stakes. He's won 1 of the Preakness and 3 Kentucky Derbies. Now, this was quite a few years ago, but still, it's quite a feat there. The word for today is what? Change. And maybe to help go over the word change, my word of the day, maybe another C word will help. That is cooking. Cooking. But first, let's see maybe what the Bible has to say about change in cooking. You know, every spring, in fact, it's kind of covered a little bit in Matthew 26. In Matthew 26, verses 17 to 29, a event happens in the spring. The people would come together, and they would then get together for a Haggadah. Haggadah is, the Jewish word means telling. Another word for that maybe you would know of is called a Seder meal, or another word would be called the Passover. Now, indeed, the Passover is very much a cooking type of a ritual there. It's the remembrance, the telling is the remembrance of the Exodus. With that remembrance, there are certain elements of this meal that is a must. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, you would have these same elements. And there's other elements that is upon the traditional, you might say like a Thanksgiving Day dinner. Whatever the local family tradition was to have here. Okay? But in Matthew's account, Jesus was getting ready, that good old little Jewish boy there, he was getting ready to celebrate that Passover meal. And he was going to, he said, here's how we're going to find out where we're going to have it. Because the disciples knew it was coming, and they said, where are we going to celebrate Haggadah? And he said, here's how we're going to be able to identify that particular place. Now, as I said, there was a lot of preparation. They even could not use the same cooking utensils and dishes that they had in the past. It was that special. So can you imagine that husband coming home and say, dear, I've got 13 friends that were going to join us in the Passover meal. She said, my goodness, what? Yeah, they're going to be in the upper room up here. Okay, but that's where it was. As they were celebrating that particular religious tradition, and following the book, you might say, of the Haggadah on how it should be done, there was a certain point in which then Jesus said, we're going to do some changes here. This is the change. And this change to the Christian community becomes known as the Eucharist or the Holy Communion. But prior to that, as it explains in the Bible, like it says, he broke the bread and he gave thanks. When he gave thanks, what was that he said? That is precisely, he would use the very same words in that Haggadah. When he took the wine and he says, I'm not going to drink of the wine again. When he gave thanks to it, that particular thanks would not change. It's still used today in the Haggadah. LaDonna and I, when we lived in Fargo, there was a Jewish Christian named Martha. And Martha then, every springtime, she would hold a Seder meal and tell us then what the symbolism was of everything. So LaDonna and I have partaken in 35 Seder meals at different churches. Like that. It's very, very marvelous there. So we see cooking and we see change in the Bible listed there. I brought Grandma's cookbook. Boy, isn't this an old one here, folks? Look, I got it bound together with a good old duct tape and here. A lot of good recipes there. There was a young bride, and this young bride was so happy because family was coming and they were going to celebrate Christmas at her house. She told the husband to go to the butcher and get a country ham. He followed her instructions, goes to the butcher, gets that country ham, brings it home, and he says, here it is. And he was proud that, man, he had got what she asked. And she says, well, Why didn't you get the butt cut off? He said, what? What do you mean? The end. You need to cut the end off. He said, you didn't tell me. Oh, we always cut the end off. So then she had him get that serrated knife, and he gets going and he cuts the end off. Well, then she gets all the things ready for this country ham. And of course, this country ham has got the pineapples on it, and it's got the maraschino cherries in the middle of the pineapple itself, and glazed. I mean, man, it looked just terrific. But still, back in his mind is, why are we cutting that end off that ham? They're at the table, and he thinks, well, I'll take the opportunity. He says, tell me again, to his wife, why did we cut the end off? And she says, well, because that's the way Mom does it. And Mom, who's at the table, says, yeah. And so he's eating a little bit, thinking a little bit, and he says, well, to his mother-in-law, why do you cut the end off? And she says, well, that's the way Grandma's taught me how to do it. And so he's not going to stop. He goes on and he asks Grandma. And Grandma says this. The reason why I cut the end off is that back in my days, we had a very small oven. And the ham would not fit in that roaster. So I cut the end off. Thus, we come up with the Grandma's roasting pan fallacy. Folks, we do things the way that we do because that's the way it's been done. And when we get in that comfort zone, sometimes it's very hard for us to get out of there. And it's only because what? It's comfortable. And no one has asked the why questions. There are those that'll, like that young man, they'll ask the why questions. Example, years back, I would go to New York City. New York City was inundated by the yellow cabs. And some of the yellow cabs were a little bit different than others. They were medallion taxis, meaning that this person owned his own taxi, and he paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to get that medallion. Well, someone asked the why questions, and today, folks, we have what? Uber and Lyft. That medallion is worth not very much nowadays because of that, of asking the why that we do certain things. We have a carrier that maybe be asking the why questions on the roasting pan fallacy. And that carrier that we use is Prudential. Now, Prudential looks at different ways that we do things, and then they ask kind of the why questions. Example, you can chew tobacco, and they'll still grant a non-smoker rate to the client. Why? They're not smoking, inhaling smoke. They're chewing. As such, they take a different viewpoint underwriting-wise. Kind of the why questions there. Now, ask your internal wholesaler about this, because this is fairly new. Ask them, tell me about Prudential's power of the two, and maybe how that could assist me. The power of the two is a resource of communicating with your clients in two areas, need and want. They show you then how to be able to explore each one of them separately, but yet they're what kind of come together and bring to light the need that they actually have, and how that need actually what complements the wants that might be there down the road, such as a living benefit rider. So the power of two, example of the new roasting pan. The living benefit rider, I mentioned that. They call theirs benefit access rider. Can break that down a little bit. Okay, I've got this policy, and I have a life event where I need to use the benefit of it while I am living. Typically, we might get in our heads at what life insurance is, what if I die. Well, the living benefit rider is mean while you're living, the insured, there's a benefit that you could use to help you. And the life event, and it can happen to what, maybe 7 out of 10 of us, that's long-term care. That living benefit rider of that policy that you have can help assist with that need. living benefit rider. And in the new roasting pan idea, they put that on their second to die policy also. So that helps with what not only the need for the death, but if the need would come for a long-term care event, they would have it there. Estate planning for the high net worth client. Be sure to put this on your list and ask your internal wholesaler for more information on that. Why those clients now? The word change. You think the tax environment is going to stay the same, or is it going to change? We're already speaking of something on the sunset. Ask your internal wholesaler about the sunset clause on estate planning. And that's probably not the only change in the tax environment, folks. We're at very current low interest rates. And these high net worth clients know how to use the L word, leverage. Reason to call on them. The Secure Act. If something as recent as Secure Act can have an effect on these high net worth clients. And of course, Prudential, we've got the experience of the underwriting. We got the Prudential strength itself that can assist with their particular needs. Again, I can't overemphasize. Contact your internal wholesaler on this information of this new roasting pan. Very recently, they just done here, I don't know if you can see it, but it's called Financial Wellness Census. They took the time and the wherewithal and the investment to check in the whole United States on the needs of the clients and what their perceptions might be. Because you know what, folks? Sometimes their perceptions to them will be the reality until you sit down and cover the power of two with them. The power of two. So, some very good information there from that, I guess you'd call it a white paper that they've done on the financial wellness there. So, you can see Prudential, they're thinking beyond the grandma's roasting pan fallacy and thinking outside the box, much like the Uber organization was. I said the word of the day was change. So let's get to now the recommendations I have and see if they relate a little bit to the word change. The poem that I have is entitled That's Life, and the author was Danny Joyce. Real nice little poem. Movie-wise, it's a fairly new movie. It is entitled Radioactive. And it's the biography of a scientist. Her name was Marie Curie. Marie Curie, with her husband, found the element. If you remember your high school physics and you had the element chart, they found radium. But later, in World War I, with her daughter Irene, they developed the X-ray machine. That wasn't in the roasting pan. That was change. Marie Curie, the bio, and the movie is called Radioactive. The book I have is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by good old Stephen Covey. Powerful lessons in personal change. Habit number 1, be proactive. Habit number 2, begin with the end in mind. Habit number 3, put things first. Habit 4, think to win. Think to win. Habit 5, seek first to understand, then be understood. Listen, just like that group of 6 agents says, man, people wanted them to listen. 6, synergize, right? When 1 and 1 makes 3 because of synergy. And number 7, sharpen your saw. Sharpen your saw. Real good habits are from the book. 7 Habits of Effective People. Well, I covered what the poem and the movie and the book. It brings us then to the song. Okay? Maybe the song relates to one of those very first people that you see in the morning, the man in the mirror. The man in the mirror. So this song came out in 1988, and the singer is Michael Jackson sang this song, The Man in the Mirror. One of the first people you see when you look get up in the morning. Well, how about a power phrase to share there a little bit? Comes again from Ben Feldman. Life insurance is time. A time that a person may not have. If he needs time, they need life insurance. So life insurance is time. So you don't talk about the premium or the face amount or even the illustration. You tell them what life insurance does, right? It buys you time. It buys you time. Now this video, kind of maybe relates a little bit to that, is from a Prudential. And we got some partners there, both life partners and in business partners. And this couple, they are working together. You can't predict the future, but you can plan for it. That time. You can plan for what? Change. And folks, here they cover that. And you're going to hear from both of them and maybe how this life event's kind of affecting them. So I hope you enjoy it. I did. I very much did. So listen to Larry.
The best part of my day is waking up. It gives me a chance to have another day, you know. My name is Larry Gwynn. In December of 2006, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. I was 47 years old. When I told my father, who was a doctor, I heard something in his voice crack, and that's when I got a little scared. When I said, Dad, I diagnosed as Parkinson's, he says, oh. And that's when it kind of hit me, that this is not good. I never thought that I would get an illness like this. No way. I played football in college. I played basketball because I loved it. I used to be fast-talking, smooth. I would think of something and it would come out of my mouth as soon as I thought of it. Now I have to hold back because my thoughts come out faster than my mouth can speak.
Breathe into your abs.
I have a voice coach who's helping me deal with this vocal problem.
Larry and I are partners at work, but we're also partners at life.
Together, we're a great team.
I think right now the financial part of it is probably the most challenging part. When you do have a chronic illness, there's a lot of costs associated with it.
I'm still working full-time. I work every day. I have a plan. And my plan is that if I were to be unable to work because of my health, that Pam would take over and run the business. She knows everybody.
I remember.
Phone calls go to Pam. She's got a great voice. She sounds like a beautiful bird singing in the meadow.
The thing I worry about most with Larry is that I might not be able to do it all. How do I take care of him? How do I run the business? How do I take care of myself?
If you were to get what I have, it couldn't work because you just couldn't put the widgets on the tires anymore. You know, you just could not work. Through no fault of your own, it hit you. I want you to get in that frame of mind right now. How is your family gonna go on? How are the kids gonna go to college? How are the bills gonna get paid? That's what I focus on. It's about planning. It's about living. You have only one life, so let's do it right.
I think that was nicely done, don't you? You know, they were what? Planning for the unexpected. And that event affects them, did you see, maybe a couple ways? Financially and emotionally. Don't forget that second part, folks. Don't forget that second part. At one point she asked what? Boy, what am I going to do with the business? What are we going to do with Larry? And then how am I going to take care of myself? All those things encompasses that emotional, that emotional there. So I think that Prudential was right there, ready to help them. What again, as it says, what you can't predict the future, but you can plan for it. You can plan for it. Very good video. Because we can't plan for things, folks. What? Remember this. GP for you. God's plan. Oh, I better stop. God's plan. It is. It is indeed. And blessed are they who ease the pain of misfortune, for they shall be called insurance agents. You have a good week. Take care.